Hi everybody and welcome to Photomikes Garage. Today I'm going to work on a car, not that car, the Camaro. I'm going to work on this car, 2001 Viper GTS. Love this car, and today I'm going to install this. Yeah, this black canister is called an oil catch can, and I'm going to install it on that car today. This is $35, and I'm going to do the whole thing myself for around 35 bucks. No $1,000, no $100, 35 bucks. And I'm going to show you how to do it and why you should do it. Okay, to show you why you should do it, and to do it, I have to open up the hood of the Viper first. Now that is quite the experience. I never get tired of that. I never get tired of showing people how to do it. It's pretty simple, but it's a flex. It's really cool. Watch this. So there's no inside release. You can just open the hood from the outside, just like a good old-fashioned car. Now there is still an alarm on this car. So you don't want to open the hood if you've got the alarm set. So yeah, somebody could open the hood, but it will set off the alarm. The alarm is off. Let's open up the hood. First of all, you put your hand in here. Now you put it in right through here. And you feel there's a lever and you pull down. That opens the hood to this point. There's a little slot right here. Put your hand in there. Go slightly to the left and up she goes, but only this far. Now it's best, of course, if you have two people, but one person can do it. And I'm going to lift up this giant hood. Now I'm going to try and lift from the center. And this hood is worth perhaps $15,000 just by itself. And so you don't want to wreck it. It's made out of a fiberglass plastic composite. At least that's what I'm told, but it still weighs a lot. Now the hood is open. Okay, let me bring you in a little closer here, just so that you can see what I'm talking about here. Oh, let's grab the catch can. Now I fully admit that this is not the ultimate setup. This catch can is a little bit small for such a big motor. Most people would put on something a little bit larger. This is pretty good for a 4-cylinder, but it will work in this application. And of course, these are sort of like a universal style catch can, which you can get quite cheap, but you have to fabricate the brackets to mount it. And in this case, on a Viper, it's going to mount right about there. Right about there. Now you're probably asking, what is a catch can? Now maybe most of you probably already know, but what is a catch can and why should I install it? Well, let me tell you the story. Why do you need a catch can at all? Okay, let me tell you. So first of all, an engine is just a big pump. Air comes through the intake manifold, it goes into the cylinders at the right time, it gets compressed, it explodes, forces the piston down, turns the crankshaft, turns your wheels, and you do a super fast takeoff in a Viper or whatever car. Now, some of the air that goes into the cylinders under the compression stroke gets by the rings of the piston. Not very much, and depending on the condition of your motor, it could be a lot or it could be little, but some always gets by. And so that air goes down into the crankcase, which is way down there, right? That air has to go someplace. It'll build up pressure, so it's got to be evacuated. In the old days, they would just have what they call a road tube. It would just come out the valve cover and go down to the ground and just come out in the atmosphere. That's not good for the climate. We got to worry about the climate. So what they devised is a way for those vapors to go through a tube and go right back in to the intake manifold, right? That way the air gets used again through the manifold and there's no byproducts, there's no fuel in it, everything gets burned again. But the problem is that when the air goes through the crankcase, it gets oil vapor mixed in with it. So the oil vapor then goes back into your manifold and that dilutes the mixture that's going into your combustion chambers. That reduces power. Also, the oil can coat the inside of the manifold and add to the deposits and restrictions that are inside there over time. You don't want oil mixed in with your gas air fuel mixture. You don't want that. So an oil catch can takes the tube that's going from the crankcase, which is, well, it's kind of hard for me to tell you, but Okay, over here you can see a little bit better. We have a tube right here. That's coming from the PCV valve, positive crankcase ventilation, valve. That is a valve that opens during certain times and allows the vapors out into this tube. And as you can see, the tube goes back into the intake manifold and then back into your combustion chambers. Fine, but there'll be oil vapor in that tube. Oil vapor goes into your intake manifold and you don't want that, okay? So how do you get the air to go back in but no oil? Well, this is the device. Instead of that tube going straight into the manifold from here into your manifold, we're going to take this off here and instead run a hose to one of these inlets. The air is going to go into this can and then come out here and then go back into your manifold. So this just goes in between the PCB valve and your intake manifold. Pretty simple. So you're asking, well, how does that get rid of the oil vapors? Well, I'm going to take this apart and I'm going to show you. This is a very simple one, of course. You can get more complicated ones, but this is what it is. So it's got a lid that will unscrew. And there you go. Okay, so how does it work? Well, as you can see, the hose comes in from the crankcase, bringing in the oil vapors right through here. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little hole right there. It comes through. It's directed over this direction, and it goes down through a filter right here. And then, as you can see, the air goes up through this fine mesh filter. And then, from there, it goes out to your intake manifold. So these filters, so this device is set so that the air droplets drop out of the airstream and are collected either in the filter or in this plate, and they drop down to the bottom of the can, and there's the oil. You can see that there's oil. Now this oil is from a Jeep Wrangler. Okay, so I haven't installed this on the Viper yet. So this oil has been accumulated just with a few miles on the Jeep Wrangler. So all cars will produce oil vapor, and so this would be a good idea to do on any vehicle, not just a performance vehicle. Then every once in a while you got to check and take it apart and drain the oil. Now you got to check it every maybe 1,000 miles, and then you'll be able to see what the oil consumption is, what the oil blow by, crankcase ventilation vapors, how much oil is coming through there. And any oil that's coming through here is not going through your intake and getting into your combustion chambers and messing things up. So this is a good idea, as you can see, and there are very expensive kits. This is cheap. That's why I'm doing it, because I am Scottish after all. So I gotta do things the cheap way. If I can save a buck, I'm gonna save a buck. So where can I mount this? Well, gotta be careful here because we do have a belt spinning right here. We have the alternator spinning, so we don't want the hoses to go around that way. We sort of want them to go around this way, through there. Now there does happen to be a nice bolt right here. We have a nice aluminum cross brace on this Generation 2 Viper that strengthens the engine compartment. Now this is bolted on right here. So that's a place where you could bolt on and install your oil catch can. What you're going to want is to have it sort of facing down here like this. So what I think I need to do is get a metal bracket, take this bolt off, drill a hole in a simple straight up bracket, and then this will bolt onto the bracket. So it's going to hold it up right here. So my next step is to make that bracket. Okay, here's my bracket I made with a grinder and some hacksaws. Only cut myself a few times. You can see this is a thing of beauty. Just got this stock from Home Depot. You know, that stuff with the holes in it, so it's already ready to go. And my bolt's going to go right through here. So this just goes over like this, and then you have a little bit of adjustment where you can move this ring slightly either way. But anyway, so I'm going to bolt this into the car and then bolt this in. Okay, everybody, the catch can is installed. As you can see, I've got the bracket mounted with a bolt. Got my handmade bracket right there. And then this is the oil catch can right there. Okay, so it's a little flimsy, but see, it's got two bolts holding the top of the, it's got two bolts holding the catch can on, and you can rotate this a little bit to make it try and fit your situation, but my situation is kind of tight. All right, I think I got it all done. Let me show you. Let's go underneath the hood. Okay, so right here is the oil catch can all installed, and look at this. I got the two hoses all completed, and as you can see, I've got the two hoses connected. This hose is the in hose, this is the out hose. It's labeled on the oil catch can. So let's see where the in hose is coming from. Let's go over. Okay, this hose right here is coming from the PCV valve, which is underneath the intake manifold. That's where the oil vapors mixed in with air is coming through. Got a little connector here, and then on she goes all the way to the in. And the out, clean air without air, oil vapors, hopefully, goes out over the alternator and curls right in to the T-junction right here, that then goes in to the intake manifold, one side and the other. There you go. The hose routing is fine, nowhere near the belt, it's all good. So just once in a while, you undo these bolts, take the can off, inspect it, see how much oil is in there, remove the oil. That's how you do it. So that's a clean installation of the oil catch can into the engine compartment of a Viper. Now, in the future, I might add another oil catch can because if you'll notice, we have lines coming from the top of the valve covers. So some of the air gets into the valve covers, and that is taken out through this hose on this side, taken across to this from this hose on this side, and then that goes in to the air cleaner there. So there's some oil vapors getting through the air cleaner right here. We don't like that. So you might want to interrupt this hose and put in another oil catch can in the future. But the main oil that's going to come from the motor is going to come from that PCV valve. And so therefore, this is the most important oil catch can, in my opinion, to do first. And it is done. There you go. All right, there you go. That's how you install an oil catch can on a Viper. This was done on the cheap, like I said, 35 bucks. I'll put a link below where you can get one of those. You just have to make the bracket yourself. 3/8 hose is all you need to connect it all up, and you're done. That's it. Simple, easy, cheap. Thank you for watching Photomikes Garage. I will see you next time.